It's recording. Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. My name's Donovan.
My name's Gordon. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day is where you're living.
It's a beautiful day here in the Cape. It's like 28 degrees today. We actually went out this morning to a nice, where did we go? It was like
Elgin.
Like Elgin. It was like a nice a railroad market. It was beautiful, really nice, and just outside Grabo. And it was nice. Joanne, myself, Marilyn and Gordon, we all went through, and it was really nice. But we're going to talk about yesterday's games. Congratulations to New Zealand for winning the Rugby Championship again. So they've sealed the deal. No one can, even though there's one more game to play, they've won the championship.
But I think that game they might not be looking forward to. Because it's going to be quite a tough game.
Yeah.
And you know where my allegiance lies. Well, not my allegiance, my heart lies with the All Blacks. And playing against South Africa, I shouldn't actually be supporting them, but I do. Whichever team wins, it wouldn't worry me.
Yeah, Gordon's going to be happy.
I'm there for rugby, but if New Zealand wins, it will even be better.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about yesterday's games. What we'll do is we're going to talk about the New Zealand game first. I watched the game last night and this morning. I think, Gordon, you picked up the highlights of the game.
Yeah, the tail end of it. I didn't really watch much, so I can't comment much on it. I can comment on one or two items, but that's about all. Unfortunately, the game was very late at night time. Was it 12 o'clock, Don?
It was 20 to 1 it started.
20 to 1, and that's way past my bedtime.
I think it's past all of our bedtime. I watched the first 30 minutes, and then I went to bed and I finished the game in the morning. All I have to say about that game was, for me, watching the whole game, I just think... don't take this the wrong way, but I just felt like New Zealand didn't even have to get out of second gear. They pitched up on the day, they played the way that they played, excellent rugby. It just seemed like they didn't have to really put in that much effort to win that game. I'm not saying there wasn't a lot of effort, I'm just saying that it just felt like Argentina didn't arrive on the day. It was a very one-sided game. And the scores reflect that. At one point it was 21-3 the score, and then New Zealand started. They brought off Sam Whitelock, they brought off Ben Smith. They started bringing off all their big players, and they replaced everyone off the bench. So they just took the foot off the gas, and they still won very convincingly.
I think it was saving them from injury because they'll need all those skilled players for next week. Yeah. One thing I can say, Don, is I did watch the beginning, some of the highlights. The first try the New Zealanders put over was brilliant.
That was excellent.
Brilliant piece of...
That was where Wasaki Nahola came from his side of the
and
wing.
mind you, the second try as well, it was just as...
with Wasaki Nahola scoring the try. So it's always nice to see a team that scores 3 winger tries. It just goes to show what a good side it is. Yes, I did see a few niggles. You know, there were a few knock-ons from Frizzell. There was a few little handling issues, but this is to be expected with people that have just played 1 or 2 tests or 3 tests. So, but that New Zealand side has got so much depth. You know that they were playing their 3rd string props when they came on. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm going to be looking over here because this is one of my favourite players, and Angus Taovao.
Hard to pronounce the surname.
Yeah, very difficult for us. But I saw Angus a long time ago when he came back to Super Rugby, and he didn't even have a contract with Super Rugby, but he started playing for the Chiefs, and now he's obviously just had a run out for the All Blacks. So it just goes to show, even the guy, the big schnorr.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Did he explain what a schnorr is?
Schnorr is a big moustache.
Big, fat.
And Carl Tui Koafe. Carl,
Yeah, Carl.
and He just brilliant. 135 kilograms loose head prop.
Jeez.
He is just an
That's
absolute,
over twice my weight.
Exactly. He's an absolute beast. And if you think about it, obviously you've got Owen Franks. I don't think, and there's another prop that also plays, but it is Owen Franks. And just think they brought in their third string props. So it just goes to show you the kind of depth that they're developing in New Zealand. And it's just that conveyor belt of players coming through. I was well impressed. Anton Leonard-Brown had a great game. But I'm going to talk about on the New Zealand side, on the Argentinian side. I felt that probably the best player from the Argentinian side, from my personal belief, was probably Pablo Matera. I just feel he has real go forward ball, and it just felt like Creevy just wasn't on the boil. And I just feel if Creevy's not on the boil, the Argentinians aren't on the boil. So it's just one of those. Yeah. It's one of those days. But I have to say, congratulations again to New Zealand for securing the Rugby Championship. You know, well deserved victory. I think they've won all of the games bar one. And we still got one more to go. So let's see. Maybe we can get through this whole thing and we win two games. It would be interesting. But yeah. So once again, congratulations to New Zealand. It was in the end, it was a comfortable victory for them. From an Argentinian point of view, I just felt that they were a little bit off the boil, which is a little bit frustrating from their game that they had in New Zealand, where they played really well. They win in Australia. It just felt like it was a little bit of a drop off. One thing I have to say though, with the Argentinians, they have to sort out their set pieces. No international side. They're not going to get off the 9th world rankings. They're not going to get up to 8th or 7th or even compete at the Rugby World Cup if they don't sort out their set pieces. They had so many lineouts that went askew. They had so many scrums where they lost penalties. And look, in all honesty, the front row for New Zealand are world class. But still, you can't be going backwards. You can't be conceding points at scrum time. And that's and then everyone talks about these traditional strengths of the Argentinians. It's always been, they've always had good, strong scrums, but that hasn't been like that for years.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Ledesma, because he did play as a forward, I'm just hoping that they bring in a forwards coach, like a real proper forwards coach. Ledesma, yes, he was a forward, but at the end of the day, he's still the head coach. I think they need to bring in some specialist that can really help them at the set pieces, because they are really suffering for at lineouts and at scrum time. So that's all I have to say about that game.
Yeah, thank you guys. Also,
still got one more game to talk about, eh?
Are we doing it on the same cut?
Yeah, we'll do it on the same one.
Okay.
But you can carry on.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to you New Zealanders for the support you gave me while I was ill. It was really great. And be strong for next Saturday. We're going to have a brilliant team here in South Africa, so be strong.
One thing I can say about this weekend was both stadiums were packed. The reason why there were a few empty seats in Port Elizabeth is because obviously you can only get a license for a certain amount of people for the day. That's my belief, because they did say it was sold out. So the amount of tickets that there were sold out.
What is it, 65 or?
No, it was 47, I think, 46,000.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
I wanted to make a comment, and I think it's very valid. I was telling you lot when we were watching the game, I said there's more people going to watch something like that rugby. I forget, guys, my memory is not 100%. I can't remember things. Remember I said there's more people attending that game than watching rugby in South Africa?
Yes.
Who was that?
I can't remember now.
It wasn't rugby, it was another type of sport.
You got to understand, we were all in the lounge watching TV, but I'm one of those people, when I'm watching TV, I tune everyone out. And Gordon was asking me questions, and he just felt really ignored, because I don't hear anyone when I'm watching the rugby. But let's talk about that other game. I first have to say thanks a lot for the fans in PE for actually pitching up on the day and filling up that stadium. That was fantastic. Absolutely magnificent. We could hear the gears, we could feel You know, the excitement, and it was so nice that finally we could fill a stadium, and it wasn't just for an All Blacks game. Oh. You know, and not taking anything away from the Wallabies. It's just nice that the South African public are now starting to get behind the Springboks again. But
it's because they're winning games now.
Exactly. You know, I think that win in New Zealand was, and I don't want to harp on about it, but it meant more for South African fans than you would ever believe. It just gave us hope that what we were doing was the right way forward. And once again, thanks a lot for having that stadium full to capacity. What I have to say about that game is, look, it wasn't the greatest display of rugby in the entire world. There were a lot of errors, there were a lot of handling errors, there were a lot of knock-ons. It just felt, in the beginning, in the first 20 minutes, yes, okay, how's that?
Yeah, that's when we put our first try down, and what, the first 20 seconds was
30,
it?
just under 30, 26 seconds, I think, 26 to 28 seconds. I think that's the fastest try this Rugby Championship.
We all thought that the final score would be 100-0.
It was like that, because normally in the first 26 seconds or the first 3 minutes, we're 12-0 down.
Yeah.
And for once we're actually 7-0 in the lead. I did feel that South Africa squandered so many chances. There were so many chances that we had to actually cross that line, and I don't know. We're still suffering from a little bit of stage fright. When we get into the right area, we need to convert it to points. But once again, it was a gift try that we got. But even if you took that gift try off the final score of the game, we still would have won. So Andre Pollard kicked all his kicks. One thing I must...
he got all his kicks over, right?
But also, let's go back to Bowden Barrett.
Yes, also his.
Also got all his kicks. And for all those naysayers out there that said, no, you know, he just proved them completely wrong. The guy can kick. He is a number 10. But let's go back to that other game. My standout player from South Africa, once again, Pieter-Steph du Toit.
Yes, wasn't he not man of the match?
He was man of the match. That guy is. We cannot lose him to international rugby.
And he's a youngster, right?
Yes, a youngster. He's just. You know, everyone was worried that he was going to be tired, and because he put his heart out on that last game. And he did it again. He put his heart out there again. I think 17 tackles for the game. He's got the highest tackles for the entire competition.
But he's not afraid. He just goes in.
No, not at all.
You know, I noticed a lot of, well, when I say a lot of our players, a few of our players are afraid to go in and tackle.
Yeah.
They run behind the guy thinking the guy's going to fall over and they'll just pick the ball up instead of tackling him.
Well, I look at it and I think, you know, in that first half, the first 20 minutes of the game, a lot of double tackles from the Springboks, and we were pushing them back. The Australians weren't getting over the gain line, and that's where we had our success, where our forwards were just hitting. But you're absolutely right. You know, there are some soft moments where we let through.
Yeah.
We let through these players, and it is leaking in the back row. I have to say, I'm not saying that Esterhuizen didn't have a good game, and I don't say Jesse Kriel didn't have a bad. They had okay games. I still think the centre pairing is still a little bit problematic for South Africa. I like Lekonya Arm, and I think we're missing him big time at that 13 spot. I just think he's such an intelligent rugby player and really knows how to tackle, knows how to step, knows how to get over the gain line. How's that Cheslin Colby, how small he is? Hey, how's that? It's 60 kilograms or 60-something kilograms.
God, he should have been a jockey or something.
He's tiny. You know, and even smaller than Faf, and that's small. Yeah. So.
But Faf has got weight.
Yes. Yeah, and I just think that Cheslin Colby he's not scared, and it just goes to show, you know, everyone thought, you know, rugby's about these big burly people, but you know, Damien McKenzie proved it. Cheslin Colby's proving it, that you don't have to be big to be an exceptional rugby player. Yeah, but overall, I thought it was two teams that. You know,
it wasn't an exhilarating game. It was worthwhile watching.
Yes.
But it's not one that you would go and skip down the road and say, you-ha, you know, my team won. Because it wasn't that brilliant rugby.
No.
But the defence...
The defence did...
Has to double the amount of tackles.
Double the amount of tackles from the Springboks. So I think it was 77 to... 144 or something like that. So double the amount of tackles the South Africans did.
And I think the Aussies might have felt a little bit homesick.
Well, they've got to go to Argentina now.
Yeah. Well, you know, luckily the two games here are both at like sea level. So they haven't got that altitude problem.
Next week's game is at Loftus.
Yeah, now that's going to be a bit difficult for the New Zealanders.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, New Zealanders? That's why I said you must be strong. And if you can actually, All Blacks, if you can get there a few days before,
yes,
you can do some, what do they call it?
Acclimatizing.
Acclimatizing, and you can look at our lovely girls. Just look at them, eh?
You know, it's quite interesting. I'm going to say one last thing about that game. I say congratulations to South Africa, well deserved. My standout player so far of the series, most improved from start to finish, is probably, and don't knock me for this, is probably Frans Malherbe. I was telling Gordon, we were watching TV, and I said, you know, when Frans Malherbe started this Rugby Championship, he looked like he had spent 6 months at McDonald's, and he was like really unfit and bulky, and it just seemed quite bad. But he's now cemented that I'd say cemented that tight head position. He is our tight head going forward. Vilkolo battled at tight head, and I'm hoping next week we've got Vincent Koch who's going to come on, and the guy's 28. He's a beast of a tight head. And I think we've finally kind of sort out our tight head issue. But let's forget about that. I just want to say that a lot of people talk about, you know, next week's game. A lot of people talk about the altitude problem. And, you know, they were talking to the guys from Durban, the Sharks. And they say, well, how do you deal with the altitude problem when you fly up? And they said, well, they don't even worry about it. They stay in Durban and they fly up on the Saturday morning. And they just fly up as it's a 2-hour flight. They just fly up as if it's a normal game, and they just play it.
Yeah, but you know, Don, when I used to fly up to Johannesburg on business quite frequently, I always battled.
Yeah, it is hard,
up until about midday.
Yeah.
With that altitude problem. Durban is actually at sea level. Where we live now, near Cape Town,
also sea level.
In a village, it's at sea level. So we're accustomed to that. We're not accustomed. If I go to Johannesburg now and I flew there, I would feel uncomfortable. But if we drove there, you slowly become accustomed to the change in climates. Yeah,
it's not too bad.
But this is our first summer day, so we want to go outside and sit in the sun.
Yes. But listen, guys, I have to say that I enjoyed the games on the weekend. They weren't earth-shattering kind of games, but they were still good games. It was nice that there were a few argy-bargies, but it wasn't too bad. A few suspect ref calls in both matches. But overall, a great weekend of rugby. And anything else you want to add, Gordon?
Yes. There's two expressions South African use, and a lot of the countries in the world are not accustomed to those expressions. One is called just now. That could be any time from right now as we talk to you to tonight.
Or 2 years from now.
The better way to explain it is shortly.
Yeah.
So if we use just now while we're talking, that's what we meant. We meant sometime, but we didn't mean sometime, because that would when it happens, that's when it happens.
It's the same as saying another one is we'll do it now. Which also means it's not now. It's going to be sometime in the next couple of hours. It's not now.
The last one, it's actually from the Afrikaans language, ja. J-A means yes.
Yes.
But the Afrikaans people say ja, nee, yes, no. When they're agreeing with you on something, yes, no. So those are the expressions we use, but we as English-speaking people don't use yes, no. We use ja, we use just now, shortly, sometime. When you see it happening, that's when it happens. like on Saturday. So when you see it happening, be strong, New Zealand.
Well, listen, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great rest of your weekend. Yeah. Chat soon. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, Australia, as well.
Yeah, no. Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers, guys. Bye.